Hey, good morning. So today we start our discussion on construction of linkage map. So the linkage map construction, this case, we start with classical map, with how the classically people, when they're using the Mendelian inheritance, how we are constructing the map. Then by that, how this can help us to construct by using the markers, whether use the morphological data or markers, how the people using for the construction of linkage map. So you already studied about the physical and genetic map, some of the classes. So this class, what I am going to talk on that. So by constructing the genetic map first, by using the set of mapping populations, usually the populations are developed to construct the map. So the population is, we call it as genetic map as an imaginary map based on the set of recombination which is observed in the progenies. We used to have the progenies when we were having the set of population based on the recombination observed in the population, we construct the map. So once we construct the map, this map has to be linked with the physical map in order to map and be, when you link with the physical map, finally any map based cloning or anything you can easily do that. So the genetic maps are constructed by using the morphological traits or sometimes by using the markers. So you can construct the map, but only thing is you need a recombinant data in the set of populations. So that is why we want to discuss during this class. Okay, let's see how the maps are genetic distance and physical distance. So the genetic distance normally measured in terms of centimorgan distance. So we call it as the recombination frequency, the recombination percentage is directly correlated to centimorgan distance. But the physical map, normally we take as a physical location, the markers which is located on the physical position in the chromosomes, it's been measured in terms of base pairs. How many base pair, it is different. For example, rice, when you take any rice map, genetic linkage map, it's 1 centimorgan distance. If you say in case of genetic map, corresponding physical map, you can say at least 1 to 2 kb length. Between two markers, it will be 2 kb size in the length. So the size of the marker, the location on the physical map and the location on the genetic map, which have correlation, which be correlated. Normally the markers, when they arrange in the genetic linkage map, it is arranged in the orderly manner, and also it is starting from telomeres to the continuously orderly arrangement of markers. Normally it's been done. Okay, so here we can see that how when you look any genome browsers, there are the sequence genomes like rice, maize or sorghum genomes. When you look on the genomes, we can see that how the physical, when you go to any pseudo molecule in the genome browsers like rice genome browser or the maize browser or maize GDP or RISA page, if you click that, the top right corner, you can see chromosomes. Chromosomes being given in that. So in that, if you click the chromosomes, you can get the full length of rice, the pseudo molecule of rice. That means if the rice is have the 12 chromosome, that 12 pair of chromosome, 2n number 24. So the 12 pair of chromosome corresponding to linkage. So there are 12 linkage there. In that, we can see the different chromosome. The chromosomes also based on the karyogram, they arrange the chromosome, size of the chromosome also be there. So once, if you click the chromosomes, you can get this pseudo molecule. Then again, if you, from the bottom, you can see the physical map where you can easily correlate arrangement of backclones. Earlier, the rice genome project or the Rhabdosis genome project, they assembled the physical map based on the back quantic alignment. So what they did, for example, in the physical map, we can see individual backclones are arranged orderly, that we call it as quantic assembly. At present day, the NGS platform, when you sequence the whole genome, the individual quantics also been aligned. That means short sequences been arranged as a quantics, and they reassemble the whole chromosome. The classical rice map and other maize, they go for back-end sequencing and aligned by back-based physical map. Individual back clones are arranged with regard to the reconstituted pseudo molecule. So if you click here, you can get individual back clone ID. Then you can each back clone, if you go there, you can entire sequence will be there. So these are all the overlapping regions. Based on that, they arranged all the backs and make reconstituted the whole chromosome. So here, when they go for back by back clone arrangement, because they already made a whole chromosome into a smaller pieces. So these smaller pieces assembled here, and then this been reconstituted. So when you have when you completed the construction of genetic linkage map, these linkage maps, the order of the marker, for example, A to F, this marker order based on the number of recombination between two markers, this order of the markers been arranged in the genetic linkage map. Once these markers, when you screen a back library, and if this particular marker is positive in a particular back clone, accordingly, individual total back library will be screened, and the location of the markers been identified. Based on that, they try to link the genetic map and physical map. This is in short. Maybe in your genomics and proteomics course, maybe Ravindran may be taking about how physical maps been constructed and how it been linked. So this course, what I want to tell you here is, whenever you look any physical map, you look on the map and how these markers are connected with the physical map. That is very important. That's why we can easily, any locus, any new traits are mapped in a genetic linkage map, we can directly correlate this one into physical map if it is arranged in the physical map. So what the genetic map means? The genetic map is a representation of the position of the genes or markers in a chromosomes which is determined based on the linkage analysis. So the genetic maps is a representation, the position of the genes and the markers along the chromosome, which is determined by linkage analysis. For example, this case, rice chromosome, when you look on the 10th chromosome using SSR marker, Pangea map, you can, it's again 10th chromosome in case of maize, sorry, it is a maize linkage map. 10th chromosome, we can see location of the marker, all the markers, UMC markers in case of maize. 10 linkage group in case of maize. So you can look the markers, how it been arranged in the map. Okay, so the markeristed breeding program, normally when you work on the markers, there are few terms which are always confusing for the people to refer. For example, the term markers, locus, gene, which often wrongly pronounced or wrongly misinterpreted. So the very simple term, locus and loci, normally people used to do mistakes. So the locus, plural is loci, the singular is locus. When you want to say a particular trait, which is having singular, one particular trait, we call it as locus. If it is a multiple trait, we call it as loci. 10 or 15 loci are mapped in a chromosome, that we call it as loci. Only one locus, one particular trait is mapped, is called locus. So this is very important term. We have to be very careful while writing. And also there is the gene and marker. Always the people confuse. So the gene, for example, if the gene and locus, usually it's a synonymous, because when you call it as a trait or a gene or a locus, it's represent particular trait. For example, flower color, red color, sometimes winged nature of the endosperm type, vaccine type. So something like that, these are all gene. If it is fully characterized, if it is a particular region on the chromosome, we call it as locus. So it is synonymous there. But when you call about the marker and the gene, when you trace a gene in a physical map or a genetic linkage map, always the gene being flanked by certain markers in a genetic linkage map. In a physical map, the marker may be on the gene because it may be a 1 kb, 10 kb region, a particular gene. Inside it may have some markers. So the markers may be present inside the gene or outside the gene. But in case of genetic linkage map, the markers always flanking the gene. So it is near to the gene. So whenever a marker is tightly linked or very closely associated, then you can use those markers for selected trait of interest. The marker is a just junk DNA sequence which is located on the chromosome. If you call it a genetic map, we measured in terms of centimorgan. If the marker is being positioned in physical map, then we measure in terms of kilobase base pairs. So whenever you say marker, it is a junk DNA. You always have them, have it in your mind, and it is very close to the gene. So how far it is close, which determine your selection process. So that is the few terms which you should be very aware. Okay. Coming to the recombinants, because recombinant is a very important process. Unless you understand fully, you cannot construct the map, or you cannot able to locate your gene of etc. But coming to the crossover events which is happening during the meiosis, during meiosis 1, there is a recombination occur between homologous chromosome. For example, take for example single crossover. These are all the parent mother chromosome, father chromosome if you take. And during the process, during the meiosis, these homologous chromosome come together, they came together. When they came together, we call it as, during the meiosis 1, we call it as synapses. During the pairing of the homologous chromosome, which call it as synapses, during the pairing, they have the possibility of exchange of chromatid segment. Between homologous chromosome, there is a possibilities of exchanging of chromosome segment if the crossover occurs. If the crossover occurs, definitely the exchange of chromatid segment happens. This is the whole principle in which normally we calculate the recombination frequency. Okay, any pair, if any pairing is occur, so if you have to be very careful when you look on the, for example, if there is a homologous pairing of homologous chromosome occur, there is exchange of chromosomal segment happen. Okay, so when you exchange of chromosomal segment happen, you can see this is a yellow color, bottom is blue color chromosome. When there is a exchange, there is exchange between between sister chromatic. For example, if between two sister chromatid there is exchange happen. So because of that, here A plus and B plus, here AA. Here because of exchange, A plus and B, A and B plus. That means blue segment goes to yellow and yellow segment comes here. So there is exchange of chromatids happen. So this exchange may be size. For example, you have two markers here, A and B marker. So by that you can easily monitor how much portion is exchanged. One more thing have to be taken care. After the recombination occurs, when you analyze the progenies, 50% of the progeny, this case and this case, 50% of the progeny should be non-recombinant. That means it's a parental type. Either a parental 1 type or a parental 2 type. So either yellow color parent or blue color parent. But 50% will be recombinant types. So the recombination is happening here. So maybe exchange of this particular segment. So this also recombinant chromosome, this also recombinant. So whenever any crosses happen between two parents, between father and mother, when you look on the progenies, 50% of the progeny will be recombinant type. 50% of the progeny will be parental types. So always recombinant will not exceed over the parental type. So this is why when you when you analyze the F2 population, you will get 50% of them are heterozygote and remaining 50% either homozygous for parent 1 or homozygous for parent 2. This is homozygous for parent 1 and parent 2. This way the recombination is happened. Sometimes double crossover also happen. That is very less percentage, less than 1% which happen double crossover. Very rare event, even smaller region. So this case, a small piece may be exchanged between these two. For example, this case, between marker A and marker B are same. It will be as it is, but only within these two markers, a small portion of the chromosome during exchange, a small piece exchange between these two. This we call as double crossover. This is less than 1%. That will be corrected while genetic distance are calculated by using the centimorgan distance, this kind of double crossover possibility is corrected. But if the markers are very close enough, then they can easily detect any double crossover. Okay. So normally the people use the 3-point test cross in order to find out how much recombination happens between A, B, C. So this is why if you take 3 allele at a time, A plus, C plus, B plus, and this when you, the gametes are, which are all the gamete recombinant type, which are all the parental type, we can easily calculate if it is a small, even a small portion exchanges happen. Anyhow, parental type will be 50%. The recombinant types will be all possible combination, A, B, A, C, B, or A plus C, B plus, or A, C plus B. So you can get here this kind of recombinants, you can easily find out. Okay. So when you study about the simple Mendelian genetics, if you take a one character at a time, we already studied in the previous classes also. When you make a cross between purple and white color, you can get F1 as a purple type. Then when you allow for selfing, and we'll get a recombinant, when you get to analyze the F2 progenies, you will get 3:1 in their phenotypic ratio. This is, I call it as phenotypic ratio. It is not the genotype which we see. So the phenotype, it's one will be a homozygous dominant. These two are a heterozygous dominant. So this is homozygous dominant, this is homozygous recessive, and 50% will be heterozygous. So why we apply the markers in the F2 or the, we can see the phenotype only in the F2s. If you want to genotype, you have to go one more generation, F3. You self-feed this progeny. If this progeny is not segregating, that means it is homozygous dominant. If this progeny is segregating, we call it as it is having heterozygous. So it is segregating. So whenever you apply the phenotype, you can only able to see how segregation occurs only in the F3 generation. That is, whenever by using the phenotype, you go for one more generation selfing. Based on the phenotype you observe in the F3, we can reconstitute the genotype in the F2. That means if these two are segregating, then we can say this is heterozygote. That is, these two are recombinant type, these two are parental type. Only based on one more generation, you have to self-it and find out. That is a classical way. For example, if you use the marker, molecular, for example, SSR marker, if you have one allele, this is a different allele. If F1 have both alleles, then F2 you can see this is homozygous, this is another homozygous, you can get heterozygous. Then easily you can do genotyping by PCR assay. This is the principle in which normally any mapping, any kind of screening the progenies, genotyping by using markers the people apply. So you always, whenever you screen the markers, you also always correlate what is the genotype of the individual, what is the phenotype. When it is going next generation, you have to check all the things. Okay. This is another pictorial representation of simply to explain about the crossovers. So when you have, I told you, when there is a homologous chromosome pair each other, there is a exchange of chromosome segments happens. So when you look on this red and blue type, you can see very clearly that these are all the recombinant type. This is the parental types. This among a pair of chromosome, this is the sister chromatic, this is the exchange happened, this is non-exchange. So whenever the result of recombination, you can get these two progenies will be a recombinant type, these two are parental type. But there is no crossover occur. For example, if there is a very closely linked, if the two markers are very closely linked, or two traits are very closely linked, you may not find any crossovers. So as it is, you can see it looks like non-recombinant. So when you make a cross between these two, and when you analyze this, there is no recombinant occur. That's why when you are analyzing the progenies, some are non-recombinant type, means you don't have the resolution to find out these two markers very closely linked. There is no chance of, you cannot see any recombinant in the progenies. So that is another explanation. So how people calculating the recombination frequency, even from the Morgan, when he worked on fruit fly experiment, this has been very clearly explained. For example, always when you want to find out the recombinants, usually recombination frequency, people normally use the test cross method. For example, if you take a one hybrid, that is dihybrid fruit fly in this case, here there are two traits we are taking, B and BG. BG is the vestigial wing. B is the, what is that? This is the black color of this fly. So when there is a recessive condition, if it is a double recessive mutant, the black color flies with vestigial wings. That means no wings at all. It's have black color. This is the recessive type. When you go for this one, this fly F1, it is having F1, if whatever the character observed in the F1, we call it as dominant character. So the F1, what is you are seeing is, it is a heterozygote nature, B plus and B, BG and B. So this is a heterozygous nature. It is looks like gray color fly with the normal wing. So normal gray color is the normal wing and gray color is the one. This is the F1, giving test cross with the double recessive mutant. So this is why when you make a crosses between these two, you can see how the recombinance occurs between this one. Let us see. When this fly, which produces sperm, it always have the homozygous condition, that is black with vestigial wing. When this one is ova and will produce ova, the ova will be, which have the egg will be, there are four types. Either it is parental type P plus and P, that is this one homozygous dominant type, or recessive type, or you will have these two. There are four combination of, when you go for checkerboard, this F1, when you self it, you will get a F1, when we make a test cross, you will get a four kind of gametes it will produce. When the sperm fertilizes, these are all the progenies you are getting. When you look on the progenies, for example, when this sperm fertilizes on this one, B plus and BG, small BG plus, B plus, B and BG. So this is wild type. Okay, this is the wild type. So when there is another one possible combination is B and BG, B and this also homozygous. This is also black and vestigial type, and you will get a recombinant. This case, gray vestigial and black normal. So out of the total number of progenies, when you see the total number of progenies, we have more than, there are 2,300 total number of progenies in this test cross. Out of 2,300 progenies, you have 391 are recombinant types. So 391 are recombinant types out of total 2,300 progenies. So into 100, you will get 17%. That is 17 recombinants occurs between these two locus. Between two locus, B locus and BG locus, there is a 17% recombination occur. So the test cross offsprings will give us what is the real distance between these two genes, how much recombination happens. This is showing. Okay. So this is the parental type. We have 944. This is another parental type. This is the F1. This is another parental type, wild type. This is 965. So remaining are recombinant types. So recombinant is, this is the black vestigial is the one parental type. This is again a gray and normal wings wild type. This is another parental type. These are all the recombinant types. So what is the recombinant? So these progenies, finally 391 by 2,300 into 100 into 17% recombination. So at a time when two markers are taken, this case two phenotypes are taken, that is wing type and also the color of the fly. Between these locus, there is 17 recombinants. That is almost proportional to 17 centimorgan distance between these two types. So that's why the people calculate. Similarly, when you take any F2 population or backcross population, when you screen the markers may be this is one parent type, this is another parent type, you will get heterozygote type. So 1, 1, 2, 2, this is a two parent type, one parent type, this is heterozygote 1 and 2. Either you can give A, B, we call it as AB. You can give any kind of symbol, but the only thing is you should know which is parent 1 type, which is parent 2 type, which is heterozygote type. Okay, if you score like that, in that you can, for example, each marker the people try to score based on the allele pattern you are observed in the progenies and the parents. For example, 1 and 2 are parent 1 and parent 2, and 3 is heterozygous type. Since you are using F2 population, you will get 3 is a heterozygote. If you go for real population, you never get the heterozygote. Most of them are 1 and 2. So that's why the real population that people use any kind of marker, you can use it. Okay, so this case, you can, each marker they try to score. For example, in case of RM is rice marker, if you score this marker, you will get segregation data. Each marker you look whether parent 1 type, parent 2 type. For example, this is 10 progenies you are screening in the F2 progenies. You can, each progeny you score it either parent 1 type, parent 2 type, or heterozygote. Similarly, for first marker you are scoring, second marker also you are scoring. For example, this marker also behaves same way. This also 2, 2, 1, 2, so almost same. That means these two markers are, there is no recombination happens between these two markers. But the third marker, RM23, instead of 2, it is giving 1. There is a recombination. Similarly, here no recombinant, nor here also recombinant. So you can get a recombinant. So like that, every markers are screened in a set of population, 10 population, and find out any recombination happens between these two markers. If there is no recombination, it means these two markers are very closely located. There is no recombination at all. But this marker have a recombination with this, so this will be far away from this marker. So this way the people do pairwise comparison among all possible markers of in the population. So marker 1 and 2, marker 1 and 2, marker 1 and 3, marker 1 and 4, like that, every possible combination, you will find out the recombination. Then you can able to estimate the recombination percentage. So the markers maternal allele and paternal allele. 1 is maternal allele, 2 is paternal allele. Sorry, this case 1 is a maternal, 3 is a paternal, 2 is heterozygote. You can designate whatever you may. You can designate it and you can find out. Okay. So determine which pair most frequently inherited together. If there is 2 are inherited together, then it is very closely related. So if any recombination occurs, then the order will change. Okay. For example, these two markers always inherit together, so it will be very closely located. This is next set of marker, which is little far away from this one. So like that, the people try to find out the recombination between the plants. And for example, marker 23, so if there is another marker 152, it comes under almost, these two markers almost same, but this marker is showing recombination, so it is little far away, so it is having the distance. Similarly, the people try to locate the marker. Similarly, you can also add the phenotype also. If the phenotype can be easily scored as a 1 and 2 as a qualitative way, just like red and green, red and white, something like that. You can able to make a qualitative score. You can include the phenotype also. For example, red leaf color, the leaf color also you can include here, red and green. If this also co-segregate with 1, then you can say these markers are tightly linked. Wherever, for example, if the green is always go along with that, you can easily make it as it is. So when you calculate the distance based on the recombination, the people calculate the distance and put in the map. Okay. So this is what the people are calculating. Okay. So I can give one more example, how people correlating the trait with the phenotype. So for example, this case, you have the plant with the phenotype, favorable and unfavorable phenotype. And also you have the genotype data, it's a particular marker, presence, and this are something like that. So when you score that, a plants, for example, 2, 4, 5, 6, 9, these plants, you have the phenotype, favorable phenotype, and also you have the particular allele or marker. For example, this color, green color, and that's a red color, and also the green color is given. So for example, this is the favorable phenotype, plant 2, 4, 5, 6, 9, always showing the favorable phenotype. Same way the marker, this particular allele or the particular marker always present in 2, 4, 5, 6, 9. If you use particular SSR marker, if it is having, for example, this SSR marker have 2 alleles, one allele, parental alleles, for example, one allele may be a 250 base pair, another may be a 200 base pair. This 250 base pair always go along with this particular phenotype. Then another phenotype, unfavorable phenotype. this one, plant number 1, 3, 7, 8, 10. This is unfavorable phenotype. And also the marker, another 200 base pair allele goes along with that. And this case means this particular genotype data, this particular marker is perfectly linked with the phenotype. So you can easily associate a particular marker with the phenotype. When you have the genotype data, the marker data with you, and you add a phenotype data, and among the phenotype, which phenotype can able to co-segregate with the genotype data of the particular marker, then it is simple that this marker and this phenotype are associated. It means it's tightly linked. So you can easily use this marker for any screening. Instead of going for phenotyping, just you can screen this phenotype by using this marker. So this why the people normally use the marker trait association. Most of the cases, the people use the marker trait association. Any markers, if you associate with the trait of interest, it should behave same way. Whether you screen thousands of markers, whether you screen 5, 6 phenotypes, you have to look which phenotype is linked with a particular marker. This is the core theme in any linkage map studies and also any marker-assisted breeding program. This is the core concept in which we are working. Whether you have markers with their 5,000 markers, you have more than 20, 30 phenotype, no problem. But only thing is, among the markers, 5,000 marker, which marker is always go segregate with your phenotype? That is the question. If there are 2, 3 markers which are arranged, then the map distance and which is the closest marker, which is the flanking marker, which all will come here. Okay. So normally people, when you look on the linkage, I told you, if the markers are arranged in your chromosomes in an orderly way, if these two are very closely located, for example, this case I take A and B, C, 3 markers at a time, 3 locus at a time, otherwise in a linked position, if any recombinations anyway taken place here, if the markers are very closely linked, very closely located, I'm talking about very closely located, there is a less chance of recombination. So if the markers are located little far away, there is a possibility of recombination. So the closer the loci lie each other, then less chance for recombination occurs. If they are located in a chromosomes are very close, there is a, even though pairing of homologous chromosome happens, exchange of chromatid happen, exchange of chromosome segment happen, but within the chromosome, if it is loci are very tightly linked, there is less chance for recombination. So the crossover will occur between them. The effect of this will no longer show independent assortment. So if the locus very close, then there is less chance of recombination. It's tightly linked. If there is very little bit far away, there is a recombinations occurs. Okay. So the frequency of recombination, again, what I talked earlier also, the frequency of recombination depend on how they are located in the chromosomes. Loci on if it is the 2 locus are located in different chromosomes, there is no possibilities of linkage. That is, it is independently assorted. So there is no, if it is same chromosome, if it is linked or not, if it is closely linked or far away, this will decide on the number of recombination. That's why I told you that the number of recombination among the progenies use a measure the distance between the 2 loci. So which we already seen in the Drosophila case, that total number of recombinant divided by total number of progeny into 100 will give the recombination percentage. That will give us a directly correlated to the genetic distance. Okay. Right. So the converting the recombination frequency into the map distance is the biggest thing, which is the direct correlation. There is, if you calculate number of recombination percentage, it directly correlate to centimorgan distance. That's why the distance been named as T.H. Morgan name, that we call it as centimorgans. So they put it as to keep the Morgan who worked at classical genetics in whitefly. So the map distance, when they designate the term, they given as a centimorgan name is given. That's why centimorgan. So how much percentage of recombination is almost equal to centimorgan distance. So I told you there are some regions where double recombinants occur. So in order to correct the error due to double recombinant error, so they used the fraction like Haldane and Kosambi. They designed the map functions. It's been named the Kosambi and also the Haldane. There are two dependent authors. They given as a correction factor for map distance because of some of the double recombinant occur in the progenies. So that named as Kosambi function and Haldane function. This gives us to what is the probability of occurrence of double recombinant in a set of markers which analyze in the progenies. So that will be given as a correction factor to calculate the centimorgan distance. Okay. So all these things which can be calculated, which can be observed, recombination percentage observed, which will be done only if you have good kind of mapping populations with you. So this is why we always look on different kind of mapping populations. So there is 3 commonly used mapping populations. One is commonly used is F2 population, you can directly check. Another one is doubled haploid population. This, when F1s are doubled using any DH development method, which you already studied in some of the tissue culture course. So that is, we can develop a DH line and it become homozygous line. Immediately, F2s become stabilized. Instead of going for many generation of selfing, finally you getting a recombinant. This will be immediately doubled and we get double recombinants. So DH population, recombinant inbred line population, backcross population. So these 3 populations normally used for any kind of mapping studies in order to check map distance, in order to check the trait of interest. So these are all things normally you have to study in detail. Maybe in the next class, we will study what are the mapping population available, how these mapping populations are used to screen the markers and construct the maps. So that we'll have a discussion on the next class. So this class, we have discussed on the methods of method of calculating the recombination frequency based on the classical way, and also how these markers also can be used to correlate the mapping recombination percentage into a map distance. This is the take-home message from this class, and next class we'll look on how to develop a mapping population. Okay, so thank you for today's presence. Thank you.